It's
Ah,
yeah. So hello everyone. Yeah, we are waiting others to join. And I'm Katerina. I'm the host of this event. We invited Dhaval to be our expert today, and uh, so we making project management automation tool, and now we are like going to hear Dhaval and his expertise. So yeah, please. Thank you.
thank you, Katrina. Um, I know quite a lot of folks. I mean, I definitely know Sonia. I know Ricky, Raj. Nice to have you here as well. Jennifer, if you don't mind, kind of giving us a little bit of an introduction for yourself, that would be awesome. Maybe we get to connect with you as well.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Hi, my name's Jennifer, and I am currently working with a government contracting company, and I've been a project manager for about better part of 16 to 18 years.
Nice. Well, welcome for joining.
Thank you.
Ricky and Raj and Sonia, maybe a couple of sentences. I know you all, but you may not know each other, you know.
Sure, I'll start. Let's see. My name is Ricky Garza. I'm out of Los Angeles. I've been in the Agile and Lean for my entire career, and I just took Dhaval's Cal 2 course last week. It was fabulous. Last week or 2 weeks ago, I don't know. Time flies. And I work with multiple teams specializing in strategic transformation, adoption, and transformation of Agile teams.
Awesome.
Great. I'm Sonia Vaughn. I'm out in the Seattle area in Washington State, and I currently work at BECU Credit Union. I've been, wow, I don't know how long I've been doing Agile. 14, 15 years, maybe. I've led lean and agile transformations, and I currently manage a team of Scrum Masters.
Thank you. Yeah. Raj, good to see you.
Hey,
Or
good
at
to see
least-
you. Yeah, good
Yeah.
to see you, Dhaval. And hello, everyone. I'm sorry I'm having some video troubles here, but I'll just go. So I'm Raj Rawat. I am a senior manager at a footwear company based out of Santa Barbara called Deckers Brands. And I manage enterprise systems, mostly on the supply chain side. And interestingly, we haven't been in the agile journey for a long time. It's fairly new to us. We have been kind of experimenting with that in our company for the last 2-3 years. And now we are kind of in the forming phase with all our team members. Still learning, but the reason I joined this meeting was because, again, we are in this transition. So I wanted to hear and listen, what are the challenges, and as the title of this meeting goes about teaminess and how people in agile teams get, stuck in, and then, it's hard to kind of become very cohesive. So just very excited to learn about those aspects of teaminess.
Welcome, Raj.
Thank you.
Brad, you've joined us. We're just going through a very short introduction of ourselves. Since we're a small group, we'll keep it conversational, and then we'll go from there.
Thanks, Dhaval. Yeah, I've known Dhaval for all of my certified Scrum career, Agile career. So anything that Dhaval puts out that's publicly available, I'm there. So I'm here in Honolulu, and Agile as a whole is is in a stutter step. So anything I can do around teaminess, and I Dhaval, just to add, I've engaged with Alistair Coburn recently around the heart of Agile. So I've been a proponent of that. So I take the best of all and bring it to organizational agility. Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for joining from Hawaii, Brad. You all will find a lot of coherence between heart of Agile, what Alistair is talking about, and what I'm trying to share here from the perspective of growing teaminess. And Yeah, so I'll get started. I'll make sure that you all get a copy of the PDF on my website on evolveagility.com. You'll find ways to get access to the materials as well. So we'll definitely do that. I think where I want to start our conversation is to first talk about boundaries. And when we are talking about people, when we are talking about systems made of people, which is a team, is one kind of a system that is made up of people, we are really talking about a living organism. We are not talking about an inanimate thing. For inanimate things, boundaries are very strict, whereas for organic entities like people, like teams, the boundaries are not just boundaries, but they are also functional components of an organic system. What I mean by that is there is a specific function that a boundary performs in living systems. For example, for us as humans, our skin gives us the ability to uh, perceive temperature changes, humidity, all the other stuff, the ear that we use to hear my sound coming through you all is also acting as a boundary where it is allowing some things to pass through, but preventing other things from getting through. In other words, I cannot smell from my ear, but I can hear from my ear. So when we think about living organisms, which is humans, or teams, which is made up of other living people, we have to think of boundaries as functional components of that system. And that's one of the key concepts that I want to make sure that we kind of build upon. Because what we are going to go into is to looking at how does a team become a real team? And the perspective I'm trying to bring in is what is the role of organization in creating or destroying a team? Because if you try to grow something that does not grow in that context or environment, it will be very, very challenging and most likely not successful. So some of the things that we want to kind of make sure is understand that when we engage with our environment as individuals, we are engaging through our actions. As an individual in an organization, you perform some tasks, you behave a certain way. I mean, that behavior changes when you meet with your friends, that behavior changes when you meet with your family members. So we engage with our organizational environment through our actions, through our behavior, and by the way we communicate, essentially how we talk. All of these have an impact on people around us. In other words, you can think of hierarchy of influence, where as an individual, you have a very strong local influence on the people that you work with more frequently. This means that the way you show up to work matters, because if you are interacting in a manner that is empathetic to your peers will experience a better positive workday, and that will transfer into other aspects of their life as well. The second behavior, or the second hierarchy of influence, is the team itself. The team, because it has its own purpose and its own mission, has very strong influence over the individuals who are part of the team. But it also tends to have a strong influence on the rest of the organization. What I'm trying to distinguish here is, as a single individual, you may not have as much influence on the rest of the organization, but as a team, you can have a very strong influence on the rest of the organization. The larger container within which a team or an individual rests in a working context is the organizational influence. This influence of the organization is global. Like, you can feel your organization as you enter the door of your organization or you log into work at that point in time. And this influence for the organization has been built over multiple cycles. Like, if you are a very long-standing company, the culture of the company has developed over many, many years. And the moment you walk into your organization, you can start to feel some influence of the organization's culture on you as an individual. So it's a very strong influence. For example, if you're working in a bank, a strong influence would be to say, hey, I need to dress up formally because that's the expectation inside a financial institution. When in my past job, I was working at a startup, I could show up in jeans. I will not show up in jeans when I go to work at a bank. You see, so the organization itself has very strong influence on how I, as an individual, act, behave, operate inside this organization. And my ability to change the whole of the organization is fairly limited. But it is at the team level where you can strike a very good balance of making sure that your interactions are helpful to your peers, and collectively as a team, you have the opportunity to influence the larger organization. Here, what I want to kind of talk about is first, like, how do these different influences come to interact? Because it is primarily about managing boundaries and how you use the boundaries as actual functional components of your organization. So a key point that I was hoping to make in the first set of slides is systems boundaries actively engage to interpret what's going on and then respond to its environment. So you must pay attention to the boundaries, because these boundaries can grow or shrink, and based on how the rest of the context and the system is interacting within the context, this may be beneficial to the team or harmful to the team. So we have to pay attention to our boundaries and how we maintain and manage those boundaries. I mean, that's the key point. Feel free to stop me at any time. I mean, I'm more than happy to kind of dive deeper into any concept. For now, I'm keeping pace, but if you have anything that you're interested in going deeper, do let me know. Now, when, as an individual, I show up to work, most organizations are familiar with a relationship dynamic where I, as an individual, can do my work, and when I finish my task, I am done. I would describe it as local task focus. But when I am starting to work with other people in my organization, whether it is in the context of a team, whether it is in the context of a peer who I am collaborating with, there is going to be some state of ideal working conditions for me and another state of ideal working conditions for the other. In order for two people to work with each other, one of them will have to pay some adjustment cost to meet the other where they are at. A very simple example of this could be that, and Katrina, she's from Berlin, right? The adjustment cost that she's making for this talk is she is accommodating to host the talk at 8 p.m. her time. You know, it's Friday. For me, it's around 1:30. So I'm still not there on my Friday weekend, but this is something that is an adjustment cost that one person has to pay in order for the two of us to do something together. Now, these type of trade-offs are very common throughout our interactions within our organizations. The challenge occurs is when we don't know how to resolve for our own preferences. So let's just say what is ideal for A and what is ideal for B. If the relationship between the two parties is that of a competing relationship where they view this dynamic as a win-lose dynamic, it is going to oscillate between a transactional kind of relationship where, hey, I showed up early for the meeting, so next time you have to show up early for the meeting. So this way we are keeping score of who wins and who loses and try to keep that balance. That type of relationship does not last for a long time. The alternative to that, which is even worse than that, is to compromise, which is to find a lose-lose medium. In other words, to say, let's find a solution that both of us don't like, and then we are equally in the same boat. But the opportunity that really exists for interactions between two people is the opportunity to collaborate, because when you collaborate, you are focusing on what is a win-win proposition for both of us. How can we manage and respect each other's boundaries, respect each other's preferences? So let's get together to have a conversation or a dialogue, maybe try a couple of things to find that happy medium where both of us get what we are seeking from. this particular collaboration or relationship that you have inside the team. These personal trade-offs are happening throughout the teamwork, and they are happening almost all the time, irrespective of whether you are in a team or you're part of a group. If you are working with other people, there is some degree of ideal for me, ideal for you. Let's figure out what is the right point to be at, is always happening. The value is generated only when you are collaborating, because if you are competing or if you are compromising, then the other person is not getting the benefit of what is your viewpoint on the subject, because you are kind of accommodating their ask. What this kind of leads us to is that teams are first and foremost built on trust. And this trust inside the team comes from deliberate practice. What I mean by that is that there is always going to be reasons, or there's always going to be some amount of disagreement. Like as you try to do real work, you're going to find some disagreement occur, and that is okay. It is actually a natural part of working with other people, that there will be disagreements. The value of teamwork comes when the people in your team believe that you're not taking advantage of them. You see, and that's one of the core principles of teamwork, is you are trying your best to make sure that it is a fair proposition for everyone inside the team, because really no one likes to feel that they were suckered into a situation when they had the least information or they did not know what they were walking into. So as a team, you have to actively pursue trust building by making sure anything that you do with your teammates has some degree of fairness to it. And this degree of fairness is built through practice. It is built through working inside a team. I often see organizations will do a team building event where everyone will go to Dave and Buster's and play video games. I appreciate that as a social bonding activity, but it is not something that will help you to build a great team in the long run. Because what is really needed for this team is the ability to do real work together and process the disagreements in a manner where no one in the team feels that they are being taken advantage of. Which is why you will find in Agile teams, we emphasize the use of retrospectives as a mechanism for team members to surface some of the latent heat or some of the friction that has happened in the sprint. We get a chance to express how it went for me, how it went for you, understand each other's perspective, and then collaborate on what is the next set of behaviors that will help us to act and behave better towards each other so we can have a better sprint the next time around. If there is a tip that I'll share now, is if your teams are not finding value in the retrospective, you will definitely want to take a look at how you facilitate that retrospective, because without a retrospective, it is, in my experience, having worked with so many teams, whenever I walk into a team situation where I'm informed the team is not really doing well, and the first question I ask is, when was the last time they had a retrospective? They are referring to the last retrospective that happened maybe 3 months or a year ago. So the most important leading indicator of a team not doing well in future is how long it has been since the team has had a retrospective. If they are having frequent retrospectives, that situation does not occur. But if they are not holding retrospectives, it's fairly good probability that the team will not want to remain a team in the long run, simply because they have not had the chance to build trust and to focus on how to collaborate with each other. Now, when we talk about a team, the most common technique, and this is something that I started off with myself, is to start building some kind of working agreements. It's a very common practice nowadays in almost all of the Agile teams. Whether you are practicing Scrum, then you would have something like a working agreement where you are, as a team, talking about how are we going to coordinate with each other. Given our time zone differences, what would be a good time to hold our daily Scrum? Given the different things going on, what would be a good time for us to hold the sprint planning so our stakeholders can arrive? Like, these are all coordination type agreements that a team has to build within itself. Then there is also a set of agreements around how are we going to cooperate with each other. Should we hold a design meeting before we work on a very large item? That's a signal to indicate that this is our avenue to collaborate and cooperate on how to follow through on the design decisions that we've made. Are there any common practices that we have as a team that we want to hold each other accountable for so our cooperation improves? All of these things are important elements of your working agreement. Things like we will check in our code at the end of the day. It's a social agreement, it's a social norm within the team, but having that conversation to make it explicit is very valuable because now people know what kinds of behaviors help us as a team to do good work together without penalizing or without having someone else pay the price for it. What I mean here is sometimes, you might have a team member who's like, yeah, I'll just check in the code, but I have not validated whether it compiles or it is even passing my unit test coverage. And then someone else in the team is struggling to get their feature working because we didn't have that agreement around how we cooperate with each other. If we held each other accountable to the fact that, hey, we should make sure when we check in our code, it's at least passing my unit test and it's compilable, then these kind of hurts will happen less. Lastly, what helps us to create a psychological safe environment within our team? These working agreements are very essential inside the team because that's where it all starts. But they are not sufficient. Like there is a whole other set of concerns that a team also has to wrestle with. The second, I think, where I wanted to go here was another need inside our team is clarity on roles and responsibilities. And here you'll find, especially when a group of people are coming together to become a team, one of the first questions that people have is, what is it that is expected from me and what is it that I can expect from my peers inside the team? If you're using a Scrum-based approach, I will strongly recommend to review the Scrum guide and then personalize the expectations you have from the Scrum Master and the product owner and the team member to your own context, to your own situation, and have a conversation about roles and responsibilities in that regard. If you are a Kanban team, have a common understanding around what to expect from each other, what are some explicit policies that you want to establish. So when you work with each other, there is some common baseline of understanding. The challenge occurs is when we are not explicitly stating this, then the team as a whole is not able to meet its own expectations. And that creates a void inside a team, some kind of a gap. This gap, oftentimes people will try to fill in by asking for someone to step up as the team lead. In other words, the autocratic ruler of the team who will then make all decisions for the team. Or in some cases, the senior management of the organization, when they view a team from the outside and they see it's not generating the outcomes, they may unnecessarily intervene and appoint someone to be a team lead. These are all symptoms of team members not managing and holding each other accountable. And unfortunately, in these cases, nominating a team lead tends to not help the team become a team in the long run. Because the moment there is a single point of accountability, as opposed to the self-managing accountability of the whole team, the rest of the team will stop paying attention to everyone else's work and only pay attention to the directive of the team lead. In other words, you may want to create a self-managing team, but if you don't have clarity on expectations from each other, then eventually it will become a command and control system because we have not been able to manage our own interactions within the team, or as a whole, we are not able to manage the outcome of the work that we generate. I'm getting a bit of an echo. Mike, if it's possible for you to mute yourself, that will be great. Thank you. the expectations that we have from each other inside a team, I'd like to look at it as explicit, implicit, and the in-between, because really these expectations are very porous and they are quite organic in nature, because it really depends a lot on the chemistry of the team members. What I'm trying to express here is, depending on the framework of choice, you definitely have some very clear expectations from a product owner, from a scrum master. But there are also some in between unsaid expectations. One of the most common one that I encounter with teams is, who's organizing the team wiki? Like, we all agreed we'll keep our artifacts in the team wiki, but who is going to help us to keep it organized, to provide some guidance on how to structure it? Because if you just let it go, then it will turn into, after a few sprints, into just a collection of information that people cannot find quickly when they need to find it. So these are some kind of roles or expectations that you might want to have a conversation in your team about. Then there is the unsaid or implicit expectations. What happens when the build breaks? Have we had a conversation about that? The way to discover, outside of the explicit, what is the implicit expectation and the in-between, is to go back to our retrospective and see what kind of challenges that we encounter often. And if you encounter a challenge around some need for organization, some need for shared understanding of what to do when, like an event response behavior, those are some of the conversations that you want to have as you discuss roles and responsibilities inside your own team. When we talk about cross-functional team in Agile, we are not saying that everyone is doing every single thing. It is extremely difficult or not even feasible to find that one individual who is fantastic at analysis, brilliant at design, loves to code, and can't wait to test his code. Like, you see, that type of a mythical, magical person does not exist. But a team that has all of these skills definitely can exist. And the purpose of a cross-functional team is to help each other grow and shine in the talent that they bring to the team. In other words, how do we support each other's strengths as opposed to look for each other's weakness? I mean, that's what the key difference in a cross-functional team is in a cross-functional team, we know what I bring as value to the team, but I also respect the value that other people bring into the team, because I cannot do what they can do effortlessly. So I need to figure out how I'm going to work with other people from different disciplines, bringing their expertise to solve a problem that is much bigger than what I individually can solve, or anyone in our team individually can solve. But together as a team, we can definitely solve a problem that is much bigger than a single individual's capability. Gonna pause here for a second. We've talked about working agreements, we've talked about roles and responsibilities and what to pay attention. Are we still good? Any questions, any areas of inquiry? All right. This has been a puzzle for me. If and this has also been a realization for me. One of the things I often ask organizational leaders is, what are your hobbies? And anytime I encounter someone saying, hey, I have a personal garden, and I have a conversation with them, they intuitively just get it. Yeah, I'm not going to get a team tomorrow when I say I get a team. But sometimes, in some cases, this is very difficult to help someone else understand that labeling a group of people a team does not make them a team. It takes effort. It takes some degree of active involvement with the plant that you're trying to grow, and paying attention to the environment where it is growing for it to yield the benefits that you're looking from. What this means is, in simple words, don't expect lemons from a tomato plant. If you are asking for a team, you have to specifically design a team for a purpose that you want that team to achieve. And this purpose is something that the team can deliver on its own. Here, you want the senior managers to engage in direct conversations with a group of people who have been asked to become a team. And this conversation has to be a two-way dialogue as opposed to a one-directional email or just an information sharing session where someone from senior management walks into the room and tells a group of people, you're all a team, go succeed. That's a one-way direction conversation. What we want is a two-way. We want the senior managers to have that conversation with the people that they are asking to become part of a team. And the people who are asked to become part of a team should be able to ask questions and get clarity on why is it that this team is being created for this particular purpose. Because at the heart of it, you are asking a group of people to work in a team, which means they will have to make personal adjustments in order to work with their peers. And it's a change, and that change will come with some degree of pain. I mean, if you talk to any developer, what would be your ideal workday? At least when I used to develop, my ideal workday was about putting my headphones on, getting in front of my computer. And in my ideal workday, I had the code requirement that I needed to code against, and I would code, then take a lunch break and start to code again. And at 5, I'm done. But now when you're asking me to be part of a team where I have to deliver on an outcome that is business oriented, I now have to make some trade-offs. I'll have to work with someone from a testing background. I'll have to work from someone from an analysis background. We'll have to talk to each other. We'll have to find agreement on what to build. This requires a lot of interactions with other people. And if you're asking me to make all of those interactions with other people, then I need to know that I'm spending my time for the right reasons, as opposed to just being asked to be on a team because someone thinks that that's the right thing to do, you see? So which is why this is an important dialogue between the senior managers and the people who have been asked to be part of the team. Without this clarity, the team is going to struggle. And when we talk about teams, I'm talking about long-term stable teams, because in a team, getting to the point where you are now able to work well with your peers takes weeks, it takes months. So if I'm going to be part of a team where I have to learn how to work with my peers, I have to learn how to manage expectations as a whole team, I want to know that this effort that we are spending is not going to be thrown away in 2 months where I'm now assigned to another team. This is also a huge cost for the organization. If you're all familiar with the Bruce Tuckman model for team development, the initial stages of a team is around forming, then they go through some degree of storming, which is overcoming their disagreements, figuring out what norms will help them to collaborate with each other. So then they can move from storming to norming and eventually getting into a performing stage. This is the time when the team is not doing its best work in the storming phase. So if we take a team that is just getting to the point where it is performing, break it apart, and ask the people to go join another team, it is amplifying a lot of dissatisfaction throughout the org. So it is much, much better to have clarity on what is the purpose, and is this purpose stable enough that we can dedicate a team to work on that purpose for the long term. Second consideration is our organization and management willing to support this team in its pursuit of the purpose? Because if we change our mind as senior managers, we are causing a lot more disruption in the larger organizational context. So it's much, much better or recommended not to start a team until you know why you're trying to create a team. Lastly, in every organization, you're going to have some degree of constraints. Today, we work in a very globalized environment. A common constraint is everyone's working from home. In some other industries, you may have data constraints where data from one nation state cannot be transferred to another nation state, and which is why you have team members in 2 different geographies. Management needs to provide that clarity to the team members, the constraints within which they are structuring this team, because some of these constraints are outside the scope of your organizational management to change or influence, because these are the laws of the land. or these are regulatory expectations. Providing that clarity helps people to understand why is the design context of the team the way it is. It also gives management an opportunity to revalidate, like, is this the right way to structure our team? Because you may find that creating two teams in two different geographies is better than creating a single team that is working across 12-hour time zone differences. You see? So having that conversation gives the management feedback on whether their design idea of how to form this team or what the membership of the team is it the right membership or not? And that's the purpose of this dialogue. What you want is people who are joining a team because they see something personally benefiting them. And I'm not talking salary, that's a given. What I'm talking about is when someone is joining a team, will they gain new domain knowledge? Will they gain new technical expertise? Are they going to get to work with people that they enjoy working with? What is in it for them to join this team? And that's one of the more key important aspects, because if the management is not involved in this conversation, more often than not, the result is that you create an Excel spreadsheet, you put names in it, and then you say you are all a team, without taking into considerations what is the interest of this person, what is it that they really want to grow into, and is this team the right place for them to grow into? So three main things that we need to have for sure when you're looking to grow teams. One, what is the purpose? What are you willing to spend a year making? What is it that the team can do, but it won't? What I also see in many organizations is a game of tag you are it. In other words, if you have joined the company and you have touched an application once in your life, tag you are it for the rest of your career inside that company. Any bugs or defects are always assigned to you. And that becomes shadow work, which is going on while the rest of the organization is expecting you to contribute into a team. So what you'll find oftentimes is teams are created where they have a project or a product backlog that they're working off, but the individual members are also responsible for working on tasks outside of the team's goal or team's purpose. And this leads to a lot of erosion of trust within the team, because inside the team, if I'm expecting my peer to work with me on a backlog item, and they say, hey, I can't work on it because I'm working on so-and-so's ask from outside, then I'm not sure, are you really part of this team, or are you a personal assistant to somebody else, outside the company? So this conversation needs to happen, is what is it that we can do, but we are not doing, because the purpose that you are pointing us towards is more valuable than everything else. It also brings to light what areas management has to provide as a substitute for. A case that I remember was working with the team where the billing supervisor for this company was asked to play the product owner role because the history of that product was really bad. One of the main issues was the product was not being built according to the needs of the people who were going to use it. So we asked the supervisor to be the product owner, but the supervisor was also expected to supervise the billing agents that are working on the side. And that gap, the business was not willing to overcome. So what ended up happening was the product owner was split in their day to support the ongoing business, plus also guide the development of future work. It took a while for the rest of the organization to realize that they really have to find someone else to step into the supervisor role so the expert can step in as a product owner and provide the expertise. Because otherwise, this effort was never going to lead to any fruition, because the person who knows what to do cannot communicate with the team because they are on a regular day-to-day basis supervising the people who are doing the work the old way. You see? A shift that happens for people when they join a team is around a sense of identity. And A thing to ask your own peers in your company is to tap on their shoulder and ask them, hey, what do you do here? And if they tell you a functional response, like I do development or I do testing or I do documentation, then their affinity, who they think they are, is more attached to only their task level contribution. And when you're forming a cross-functional team, it helps to break that identity and form a new one, which is what is it that we as a team are going to do. And I find that taking the time to have a conversation inside the team to give yourself a new name is very powerful, because it is some sense of a ritualistic break away from my affinity to my functional contribution to now solving a business problem. And that shift can be achieved by getting people to think about what is it that they are walking into and what is your name as a team. When you're working with a team, it's recommended you don't cut the goose that is laying golden eggs. So if you have a team that is working really well, what you are really asking for as a senior manager is that we will provide you with the context, the environment, the tool, and the resources so you can work with each other. But we are providing you that in exchange for an outcome that only the team can deliver. And this particular exchange is very important to continue to support and maintain. Because if the team gets split up because the managers feel this is such a great team and I'll get 5 great teams by breaking the team into 5 individual members and then assigning them to different people, it's not going to work out. In a team, it helps to have the team define its own performance goals. What you'll typically find in most orgs is the team is given a set of measures or metrics to track against. And this is a top-down assignment for team members. Instead, if the management of the team engaged in the conversation with the team members to say, hey, here's the business outcome we are looking for. What are the measures and metrics you are going to use to see if we are meeting our expectations or not? That's a very different conversation than a measure or a metric assigned to a team. For example, you'll see in many cases, some external entity will walk into a team and say, we are going to track your commit to do ratio, number of items you select versus number of items you actually do. Maybe that is helpful, but the first question I would ask the team is, how are you going to use that measure for your own purposes? If the team itself is not using its own measures for its own purposes, more often than not, that measure is a vanity measure, and it's only going to be provided to keep other people away from the team. In other words, it has very little information value. Those vanity measures tend to get gamed very, very quickly. So when you are looking at defining the team and its performance, you have to make sure that the team understands what are the measures that they are going to use to measure its own performance and how they link to the organization's expectations from the team. I'll skip the leading and lagging indicators because that's fairly basic. Where I think I want to go in the end, as I come to a close, is to pay attention to the representative heuristic. This is another way for a grandma to tell a child, watch for the company you keep. You see, what tends to happen is as people, we tend to judge the probability of something happening based on its similarity. For example, if your team has worked on something before, everyone else will expect that you will continue to work on it going forward. So what this plays out in organizations as is, in most organizations, you're not used to having a real team. You may have stakeholders, let's just say a salesperson, who is used to going to a team member and saying, hey, Sonia, I have this ask, can you prototype this for me so I can then go to my client and show them our new capabilities. If this is the interaction that the salesperson has had with the rest of the team members, now that you are creating a team and you've sent me that email that, hey, Sonia is now part of a Scrum team, that does not mean anything to me. All it means is, yeah, sure, she has a new team. When I now have a new request, I'm still going to go to Sonia. I'm going to say, hey, Sonia, I have this special request. Can you work on it? At this point, if Sonia says, remember that email where we said we are a Scrum team? You should really go to our Scrum Master, sorry, our product owner, Ricky, and then have a conversation with Ricky because she'll help us prioritize. I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to say, last time when Sonia said no, I asked Brad. So I'm going to go ask Brad if he'll take my prototype request. You see? So I'll go to Brad, and if Brad says, yeah, totally, you should do it, I mean, I will do it, then I'm going to have the next conversation with Sonia saying, hey, I thought we were friends. You see, I'm not going to learn how to engage with the team unless the whole team acts in unison and gives me the same response. If, on the other hand, every time I go to an individual team member and I say, can you do this for me? And they all point me to Ricky as the product owner who will prioritize. After I hear it 3 times, I'm going to start going to Ricky as the product owner. You see, because I have to train as a team, the rest of the organization to learn how to behave with us. And this training is going to happen in actual deliberate practice. It won't happen through an email or just telling or providing information. What this means now is, as a team internally, you need to have a conversation about how you're going to engage with your organization. You probably have a set of behaviors that you like when people interact with the team a certain way, and certain behaviors that you don't like. So as a team, how are you going to amplify or encourage the kind of interactions that you want to have? And how are you going to discourage or dampen the kind of interactions that don't help you as a team? And this has to be a shared agreement within the team, because that will come through strength in numbers. If you try to do it one by one, person at a time, eventually attrition will take over. So it's very critical for a team to have this conversation about what is the context that we are in and how are we going to respond to some typical interactions that we have as a team with the rest of the org. My intent with the self-managing canvas was for you to kind of understand the different elements of it. The purpose of the canvas is to provide a placeholder. So as a team, you can think about the different aspects or the boundaries that a team has to manage and maintain. The center is primarily about how do we manage the boundaries with each other? What are our working agreements? What do we expect from each other? This left-hand side is the expectation boundary of senior management about why we have created the team and what we expect and what are the constraints. Lastly, this is the team holding its own boundary by deciding on amplifying and dampening behaviors and then identifying their own performance goals. I use the canvas as a way to start a new team, or if a team is already going for a long time, I will bring the canvas as a way to open conversation topics in different areas. For some teams, it is quite helpful to bring the canvas out every 2 to 3 months to reflect in a retrospective to say what has changed, because the expectations inside the team tend to evolve over time. But initially, when you are a Scrum team, you might be talking about what should I expect from a Scrum Master, what should I expect from a product owner, to after 3 to 4 months, you might discover a new role that you need, which is that of a component mentor. And you would say, okay, we think we need more people to learn about this component or this technology. So let's identify this role called mentor role. And what does it mean for someone to become a mentor in that area? So these roles, they tend to emerge in a real team, and they tend to be created in response to the problems that the team is facing. You may start out with the standard Scrum or Kanban roles, but a healthy team discovers new people taking on different and unique responsibilities as it goes through its journey of solving problems. gonna pause here. This was pretty much my talk that I brought for you all. Want to check for any questions or any areas that we could go further into. Mike, Sonia, Raj.
Yeah, thank
I
you.
don't have any questions.
Yeah, no questions from me, Dhaval. Really informative session, and really appreciate you taking the time to go through this very important topic, and really, really good insights in there. So thank you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Raj.
I really,
oh, go ahead, Sonia.
oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I really like the part about amplify, which, what to amplify and dampen with interactions outside the team. I really like
Yeah.
that. And I don't think it's something that teams usually think about when they're working, like doing their working agreements and things like that.
Yes. But part of it is this lack of agency that individuals experience, and the team not realizing that together they are way stronger than any single individual in the team. I mean, that's the whole point of a team,
Right.
Yeah, no,
Dhaval.
and it resonates. I mean, those examples, some of those examples resonate with me. It definitely, they're true examples and ways that we have to come together to, I want to say sometimes even breaking things before you rebuild it, so that they take note of some of those almost dysfunctional ways of working within a team. And they think they're a team, but they're not really a team.
Right, right. I liken it, Ricky, to doing the computer reset. Sometimes when our computers, we can't make sense of what's wrong, the easiest thing to do is to reset.
Yeah.
That's the same thing happens with teams sometimes. Like it is not worth the time to go and diagnose all the issues. It's much easier or better, so psychologically and also like politically in the org, to say let's just relaunch, because
Yeah.
then we can start from a cleaner slate.
No, that's a good analogy. Yeah. And I've had that happen too. It's like there's too many things to try to address. It's like, nope. A clean slate. What do we want to be? Who do we want to be? How do we want to be seen by outside other teams or other departments? And moving forward, that's who we'll become.
Yep, yep. I think this is the heart of why a lot of organizations struggle with concepts of agile or implementing it. It is at its heart about creating teams. Any organization that gets good at creating teams, supporting teams, will not have much challenges or struggles with agility. It's where we still continue to give work to individuals and not to teams, where most of the frustrations occur. I mean, not to say one is better than the other. I mean, I clearly have my bias for teamwork. But if you don't want to give work to a team and continue to give work to individuals, don't call them teams. Just call it what you're doing and improve that way,
Dhaval, you were spot on. This actually is in the part of Agile wheelhouse. And maybe at where Heart of Agile brings in the tools to achieve this. The personal space, the confidence, the safe space that we're all look to work in. I hope to talk to you a little bit more about this.
No, definitely, Brad. Karina, where do we go from here now?
Yeah, thank you, Dhaval. It was great presentation. Yeah, I don't have also questions, and I'm not like a little bit not in this field. So yeah, I think we can make it today, and just I'll share the. I think I'll share the presentation later. with you guys and yeah, ladies. So I think we can, yeah, we can stop recording.